is we're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, and we're free. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, and we're free. How are you guys doing? As always, please let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know how your day's been going so far. I have one word. Usually I have a little list here on my a little list here where I usually write down kind of the topics that we want to cover, and there's only really one word that I put down today, and that word is interesting. That's because it's been an interesting day, interesting things going on. How's it going, Agni? What's happening? It's good to see you. We know some of you are tuning in and don't feel like chatting. That's totally fine too. But if you do, we love hearing from you guys. And Drew is here. How's it going, Drew from Philly? But you usually in New York City, right, Drew? That's where you're usually stationed, as I understand. By the way, Drew has. Thank you for the comments on the past videos of the past days, Drew. They're really, really inspiring. So if you guys want to go back and read Drew's comments on the live streams that he left there, not the live chat, real comments. That's what he did over the past days. Those were really inspiring, and he shared some amazing stories. Drew's a New Yorker. There you go. Let me see. Oh, Marianne's tuning in from the mountains of New Hampshire in the wilderness. That's beautiful. Likewise, Drew. Likewise. So why I put the description for today's live stream was from fear to bliss, and that's the journey that we want to take with you guys today, from fear to bliss. And the word in the middle is interesting, and interesting because today, first of all, it was a very kind of a turbulent night. No one really slept well in our house, which usually means there's energetically something bigger going on. And when we woke up this morning, and a little later when I checked in with what's happening vibrationally, there was a shift happening last night for whatever reason, and there's a lot of anger, aggression, and resentment out there today. That's what we experienced. Just checking in a little on social media and stuff, just picking up on what's going on, and it's interesting, especially where it is coming from. And because we're, for the most part, or for the, actually, we're only connected with people that we have an, inspiring relationship with. We have really cleaned out everything else because that's just not something that we wanted in our lives. But it's from people that have been very, positive is maybe the wrong word, but very connected. There's a sense of anger that I feel today, and that's fine. Let's pick that up and let's raise the vibration all the way up to bliss. That's kind of the journey that we want to take today. And one of the things, and it starts down as I put it down there. Hey Joe from Tucson. Hey everyone. Hallo Hamburg, wie geht's?
We have a German Shepherd. I love
Oh
German
God, we
Shepherds.
love German. Christine's saying, if you can hear in the back, she loves German Shepherds. I know. If you guys can't hear me really well, it's probably because this mic is not where it's supposed to be. Here we go. Sorry about that. So I want to start, and I will share something with you a little later. We've talked about it in the past days, so we can all look at this picture. But I want to start with fear. And for those of you who have been with us for a few days now, do you remember what our new definition of fear is? If you do, please let me know in the live chat. What I noticed is that there's something is crumbling, something is falling apart, and we listened to a very interesting interview with Greg Braden last night on London Real on YouTube, and he was saying so many of the things that we've been talking about here. But what he described is something that probably we haven't felt as much, but I realized that a lot of people are feeling it, which is a sort of grief. And I think the reason why we haven't felt this grief is because I feel like we've gone through the stages of grief already in our own lives when we felt a shift years ago. Now that this shift is taking part on a global scale, I feel like a lot of people are feeling grief. And what's happening also is now there is such a deep understanding from so many people that the sources of information, the sources of news, they don't feel right anymore. And we can see that, especially for those of you who are still following the news somewhat or watching sometimes, it is so clear now that it is not a source of new accurate information. It is a source of fear, pure panic and fear, and understanding that that's the business. And I'm not saying this to bash media, or I'm not saying this because I'm opposed to journalism, or I'm not saying this because there's bias here on either side. That's not what this is about. But I've been in the entertainment business for many, 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 many years. I started as a child, and so I always had contact with media. And here's one thing that I realized from a very early age is no matter how shallow, unimportant, or, in terms of global events, unimportant the story was, I can't think of a single, or maybe one time where a journalist actually got it right. And I'm not saying that they're not capable. So just to give you an example, they did years ago. There was this big newspaper back in Austria that did the piece on me and my career, my music career, and it was kind of more of a private piece on the family, my wife and the kids and everything. And we literally gave them my bio, all the names, all the ages, everything was in there, like it was black on white. And we did a really good interview, and the journalist was really nice, and all was super well. But when they published the piece, they managed to butcher 3 names: Christine's name and the names of our children and their ages. And they managed to get 7 or 8 facts completely wrong. And I wasn't upset, but it gave me a glimpse into what is important and what isn't. And my mom is a journalist. I mean, she's worked as a journalist for many years, and I now understand better that because this medium is commercialized and because there is so much interest in it that has nothing to do with facts, that sensationalism and numbers that catch your attention are way more important than facts, because a lot of times facts won't keep you glued to the TV. A lot of times facts will calm you down and everything is fine and you'll just go about your day. But when there is a sense of fear, urgency, and panic, people tune in and watch because they feel like the more of this information they get, the safer they will be. And so it's becoming so clear right now for so many people that this fear is really what's perpetuating. This fear is really what's dangerous about this situation. When people are in fear and panic, this is when their vibration is really low. And that's how we want to jump into this topic here, because Kristin has prepared this for us today, and I'll share the link with you. If you look at the live chat or the description of this video, and I want you to pull that up. Here's an image of the emotional scale, and then we can dive into it, which really gives us a good understanding. Let me know when you guys are ready and when you've pulled it up. But if you click on a link that I just sent you here in the live chat, then you will see that certain emotions have different frequencies, right? And so when you are in the mode of pain, of victimization, of suffering, then those are slow, low frequencies. The higher up, so you see where fear is. Fear is, interestingly enough, fear is already a more vibrant wave, but it is still lower on the emotional scale of energies. And when you move up and you come up to gratitude, appreciation, when you come to love, when you come to freedom, and all the way up, the highest is bliss, then you see that this is such a high frequency. And know that what's high up there cannot communicate with what's down here. When you're up here, when you're in the state of bliss, fear, pain, all of those emotions you cannot access, but they also can't access you. In other words, if you're in a blissful state, if you are feeling, grateful, joyful, then even if you turn on the news, it does not penetrate your emotional system. You're not susceptible to that, and it cannot come to you. Have you all pulled up this the link? Let me see what you guys are saying here. Matt says, so you can feel my anger from there. I'm crumbling. I'm falling apart. Yes, actually, I'm just reading here the comments and I'll jump right back in. So, actually, yes, this anger energy, again, there's an energetic shift, and if it happens on a larger scale, which means if more people pick up that vibration, then it can be felt for the whole planet. That's why you have days where or let me rewind. On the day on September 11th, 2001, 9/11, when that happened, the the energy, that the measurable energy on the planet went through the roof, and you could see that even before it happened, hours before it happened, all the measurable energies around the planet went through the roof. So there was an emotional upheaval even before anything happened, because on a deeper level you are aware of things before they happen, because really on this deeper level there is no time and space. That's why you were aware of these things before they happen, and that's why the energy went through the roof. And today's such a day where we feel the energies are going through the roof. There's a lot of polarity, there's a lot of duality, but what we can do, and this is really important, and this is why what we can do is we can take this intensive energy, it's very intense, and we can transform it into something positive. Because the energy level is so high that when you transform it, it becomes a creative power rather than a more destructive power. And so, how do we move up the scale? Now, if you try to jump from, let me pull this up again here. If you try to jump from pain or suffering, which is way down here, if you try to jump up to love and freedom, then it's going to be really hard. It's kind of like trying to get to the peak of a mountain in 2 minutes rather than the usual 3 hours. But you don't have to, right? You can work your way up. And to do that, don't push it down. Don't push the anger away. Don't push the aggression away. But let it come up. And when you feel this burst of energy coming through, find something that feels a little better. Something that is easy, where you have no conditions on it. Like, don't think of a person that you have a difficult history with, but think of something or pull up a memory that you have only good feelings connected with. Maybe something from your childhood, maybe it's a dinner that you had a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's thinking of flowers, whatever does the trick for you. Just something that feels good, but it has no super huge meaning for you. That's how you start moving up on this emotional scale. And then eventually, when you find that you have a little more calmness and around you, and you're calmer and more peaceful, then you can probably easier move into a state of silence, meditation, becoming quiet, sitting maybe and watching nature if you can. And if it's not, I mean, seriously, if you don't have access because you're in the city and you don't see nature, turn on your YouTube, and there's a bunch of videos that will only show you beautiful lakes and streams and woods and whatever does the trick. There's bonfire videos, there's all kinds of calming videos. You can do that too. And just connect with that peaceful energy and become calmer, and know that you don't have to react. You don't have to pick it up. You don't have to participate in it. Even though the energies are strong, you don't have to participate in it. And when you become calmer, it becomes easier. When you go within, it becomes easier, because then you can feel yourself again, your true self. Now let me go and see what you guys are. I can see that there's a lot of commenting going on. Let me see what you guys are saying. So Drew said a little earlier up, are you talking about energy locally or in this country? Since we're connected around the planet, I feel like it's more a worldwide thing, and those energy shifts are happening. Do you ever wake up and you can't really put your finger on what's going on, but your body feels different, your emotional system feels different, you have feeling that you don't have necessary an experience to. In other words, you're feeling feelings, maybe sadness, maybe anger, but there's no reference of where it's coming from. And that's a lot of time just the collective energies that are going on. And if you're, if you're sensitive, then you're picking it up. And that's what we're more talking about here. So let me see. See, there's that too. There's what Marianne is saying. She says the cabal killing the alliance, and um, so for years and years and years, I used to go down the rabbit hole of looking at what's going on the planet, of the power groups, of all of that, and it was really, really important. And I know that there's a lot of important information out there, but once we move past a certain stage of awareness, there is no us versus them anymore. In a bigger scheme of things, there's no separation really. We experience separation because we are physical beings and we have a body and we feel like we're not the same as this mug, and we're not made of the same thing as the fridge or the tree, but really it's all energy. We are not disconnected from each other. And a good perspective here for us is to see that it's not us versus them, as we have created this experience for ourselves. We have even created a so-called age of darkness for ourselves, so we can then experience greater clarity. And if you have been listening to Abraham Hicks, that's a lot of, or if you listen to what Yusi is saying, or it doesn't matter. There's this perfect understanding of having an experience of contrast that brings you great clarity. And if you have ever experienced great suffering, then you know that your desires feel never stronger than in the times of great suffering, because then you are so aware of what you don't want and so aware of what you do want. So we have created this for ourselves. We've created this whole situation for ourselves to become clearer, to gain greater clarity, to know on a deeper level what it is that we desire. And so on a lower, on this emotional scale, on the lower end of those frequencies, yes, there's a war going on, definitely. On the lower scales, where you're down at suffering, shame, victimization, there is a war down there. There's definitely not a war up here. The war is happening down there, and down there it's us versus them. There's always fights, there's always victims, there's always that. But on a higher scale, this just isn't happening. And if you listen to and talk to, and if you go into deep meditation, you will have those experiences yourself. If you listen to people that have transcended this eternal cycle of birth, life, death, fight, that have come back as masters to teach us, then you will see that they will tell you that what we experience on the human plane is not happening anymore the higher up you come, which means the deeper you're connected to source. So with that regard, I have withdrawn my belief in the fight, which doesn't mean that I'm not aware of different energies, but I've withdrawn my belief in the fight. I know now that we have created this for ourselves, and there can't be anyone who is controlling our experience and who's controlling what we feel and who's controlling what our intentions are. It's simply not possible. It's not how the laws of the universe work. But we can believe that, of course. We can believe that we are, that someone is controlling us. We can believe that someone has power over us. That is the power of your thoughts, of your belief system. But looking back at this emotional scale, when you're up here, when you're in appreciation, when you're in love, you never ever feel controlled. When you appreciate yourself and the planet and the beings around you, your experiences, you can never be in a feeling of being controlled. And that's what happens when people who are literally physically imprisoned, they're in a small cell, they are stripped of any privileges, literally not partaking in anything that we consider to be beautiful, yet they have complete and total freedom. And I know this from So there's someone in our vicinity who spent many years now in maximum security, which is the worst kind of prison that you can be in, and they have come out now. But this person has said repeatedly they have found peace, love, God, freedom, serenity in that confinement. And what does that tell us? It means that it is not what we experience through our senses that gives us the peace and the serenity. It is what we experience on the inside, and it's the connection that we establish with Source, God, the universe, that truly brings eternal peace, the feeling that we're always looking for. And for those of you who don't know what our new definition of fear is, it's feel elevated awareness to rise. Feel elevated awareness to rise. Rise on that emotional scale. And if you haven't yet, pull up that picture. I shared that link. I'm going to put it in the comments one more time. It's also in the description of the video. Look at that scale. And maybe print it out if you can. So you will have a visual for what's going on, because this is so helpful, this visual. And it's interesting because we saw this scale for the first time in Joe Dispenza's book Becoming Supernatural, and Christine and I have both read it and then saw this scale. And now always when we feel that we're sinking on this emotional scale, you know, the other person brings it up and says, listen, when you're down here, you are stripping yourself of your creative power. Let's see how we can move back up. And so this visual helps us, and we trust that it will help you as well. And moving up the scale is such a beautiful experience. It is like when you are taking a trip, and I'll tell you my experience. So when we would take, and I was a kid, and we would summer vacation was always at the Mediterranean Sea. So we would take the trip, and we started at home, which at that time was annoying because that usually meant it was the end of the school year. It was, you know, long and boring and hard and all of that. So we started at home, which was, I compared to the bottom of the emotional scale. And then the closer we came, there were, you know, there was maybe this restaurant that we passed that we had good feelings for, and so we moved up on the scale. And then we came a little closer. We crossed the border into Croatia, into this beautiful country, and we moved up the emotional scale. And then we would see the sea, the ocean, for the first time up from the road, and we would make a huge jump on the emotional scale up there. So this was the journey from down here, which was pain, to bliss. When we finally arrived to where we were going, within 6-7 hours, we moved up on the emotional scale to pure bliss. This is kind of a physical description of how this works sometimes, but you can do that from where you are, from where you sit, all on the inside. You don't have to take a trip to move up the emotional scale, but this visual really, really helps us a lot, and we trust it will help you too. So our journey into bliss isn't completed for today. I feel like we've moved up the scale a little. I want to see if you have any questions or comments for this part here. And there's Tansel who says how to raise our frequency. We will get to that in a minute. Let me just see if there's any more questions. And Drew says he didn't feel that. That's just because we picked it up doesn't mean that everyone is picking it up. It's just, I mean, there's no, there's no absolutes here, not at all. I feel like when we come into this live stream, there's always something that stands out for us, either on the day before, night before, or the morning before. And that which stands out becomes kind of the focal point of this live stream. And of course, you can have a completely different experience. Of course, we never ever will have all, the same experience at the same time, which is actually really great. So on our journey up the emotional scale today, we will invite our friends. UC, for those of you who have some questions. Again, this is intuition. Might be 3 days in a row, and then maybe 2 days not. We don't know. We feel them coming through anyways, so we're gonna invite them. Kristine's gonna join us. My wonderful, beautiful wife coming over.
Hey, Inspired Tribe, how are you today?
Well, should we get them? Should we call them? You have the number?
Ding, ding, ding.
Are you guys ready? And we're so excited to be here.
We are excited too. Thank you for joining us again today.
We were able to squeeze it in.
I so appreciate that.
It is really great to connect on such a connected level with all of you. We're enjoying this. We're having a blast. We assume there might be questions.
Let me read through. There are a lot of comments, but Drew is saying, "Hi Yusi, I was deeply touched today by the suicide of singer Mindy McCready. Felt her pain, didn't even know this singer when she was alive. What was that?"
Are you asking what your pain was about? Or are you asking what the pain of the singer was about? Because we want to say this in the most respectful terms that we can. The pain of the singer is none of your business, but your own pain is your business. Actually, your own pain is your springboard event. It's your springboard event for you to jump in the direction of that which is important to you. So are you asking us what the deeply aligned, painful experience from your perspective means?
I felt her lifetime pain. Her spirit told me to leave it alone, but I couldn't.
There you go. You see, you were humans, especially since through technology, there has been such a deep established connection. Humans are associating their feelings with the feelings of others on a deeper scale than ever. And this is never a wise thing to do for you. It is never wise for you to associate your feelings with the feelings of someone else, because you immediately are dependent. Because if the other person feels really good, you can feel really good. If the other person feels really bad, you feel really bad. This is especially what is happening between people who are in a love relationship, between couples. This is happening a lot. But what happens when you connect with the pain of a stranger? Well, if you, for an unforeseeable reason, go through something that you didn't expect on an emotional level, then there might be something there for you to look at, not to dwell on, not to linger on, but to look at. Because if the pain of someone else leaves such a great impression on you, especially if you didn't even know that person before, then there is something there for you to look at, but not to associate with their life story, not to obsessed with what they have been through. There's absolutely no reason for that. That is what humans do when they watch biographies, and they do that all the time, and they relive the life of someone else and their emotional scales, which doesn't give you any more power. You just think because you understand them better, you now have a better understanding for what their life was about. But what has that got to do with you? Really, what is important is why you feel the way you feel and what your journey is. And you also have to understand that just because 90% of the people in any area have experienced something, it doesn't mean just because you're in their area or in the same business that you have to go through the same. And this is especially true for the arts, where in the arts there's this perception that there has to be a lot of pain and suffering before there can be success and glory and abundance. And it is just a story that's been repeated so many times that people believe it. This is the power of impression. When you hear something so often, then you believe it. And we cannot emphasize enough that pain and suffering is just a source, but not the source for inspiration. Pain and suffering is a source for creative power, yes, of course, but it's not the source, because you can create from great joy, you can create from great love, you can create from great passion. There's so many emotions to create from. And so, in these times that are so unknown, uncertain for so many who have been holding on to physical reality, that have been holding on to the truths of your physical world, that have been holding on to the customs, and that have been holding on to how things are done and how things are supposed to be, they are experiencing great pain. They're experiencing great grief. They're even experiencing a complete loss of their sanity, because it feels like their reality was pulled away from under them. But we're telling you that you're just reconnecting. You are just finding source energy in your lives. It means that you now are returning to the true power of your beingness, which is source energy and God. This is where everything comes from. This is where what the source of your power really is. It is not the things, not the cars, not the houses, not the money, not the glory, not the admiration from others. All of this isn't where the source of your power is. And so, this is why your time with source, with God, in meditation, in prayer, in silence, in connection with nature is so highly important, because then you return to what is truly true rather than to what has been perceived, to what has been portrayed, to what has been shown. But the surface is all, it's all just on the surface. It doesn't have a real source connection. And so that's where you are, where you all are as a whole, as humanity. That is where you're all standing now, reconnecting with the true source of your true power.
Someone is asking, I am new to your channel, just landed here accidentally. Can you please introduce or tell me what's happening?
First of all, there are no accidents. There never have been in the history of the universe, there ever has been an accident. So you being here only means that you are where you are, meant to be where your higher self has led you. And you're asking a very broad question. So what is happening is you discovering who you truly are. What is happening is you going on the journey to return to your true self. You feeling what divine guidance means. You feeling what your higher self really is. You giving yourself time to explore that feeling. You allowing yourself to feel more blissful than ever before without a proper cause in your physical reality. In other words, it doesn't have to be the shiny new car in front of the house that causes your feelings of joy. It can be, will be, and it definitely will be the feeling that you have given your higher self, God source energy, a true and constant place in your life where you feel it in every fiber of your being, that you are divinely guided, that everything has a meaning for you, and that you have found your true creative power. You are a divine creator. All of you are divine creators. All of you are divine creators. Now you have heard us say this, and you move past these sentences in anticipation of what we're going to say next. And you hear this line and you wait for what's coming next. And if we told you that we could connect with you every day and just tell you this one sentence, you are divine creators, and we would say everything there is to know forever, and you would not believe us, because you would think there's got to be more. But how can there be more? You are made of the same energy as everything that is, all that is, the eternal I am, God, source, whatever you want to call it. The name does not matter. You're made of that same energy. That is what you are. And the more you connect with that, the more this becomes dominant in your life, in your actions, and in your beingness. So when we say you are divine creators, we could put a full stop there and never say anything again, and we would have said it all. But we do know and understand that through your life experience, you will go through so many different stages that you will want to hear it in many different ways. And so we'll continue to tell you in many different ways that you are divine creators.
The next question is, how can I help my 12-year-old son connect to his own higher self and connect with source energy?
The best way to do that is for you to connect your own higher self and source energy, and create an intention for yourself to be in that state for as much time as possible. And your son will look at you with greatest intensity when two things are happening in your life. He will look at you with greatest intensity when you are the happiest, and he will look to you with greatest intensity when you are experiencing contrast. And then your son will observe how you handle that. Your son will observe you very clearly then to see how you are moving through something that is obviously difficult for you, that obviously causes you to stumble, that obviously causes you to fall out of balance. So those two things, when you're happiest and when you have the greatest challenge, is when your son will pick up the most and learn the most from you through observation, not through what you're telling him, not through the teachings that you're bringing to him in so many words. That is not how your son learns from you. Your son learns through observation and through feeling what you're feeling. So if you're playing, if you're acting, he will know. If you are pretending, he will know. He might not let you know that he knows, but he knows. He feels it, because children feel authenticity above everything. Children feel authenticity above everything. And so when you are the most authentic, when you are the most connected, when you are the most present, that is where the greatest transfer of wisdom, knowledge, and energy happens between you and your son. In other words, be who you truly are, and your son will discover how being who he truly is works.
The next question is how to give positivity to parents and grandparents whose granddaughter, age 2, has cancer, although doctors are very positive.
Don't try. This is probably the most important thing we can say to this. Don't try to persuade someone of something. Rather, be the light that you are, shine your light, and give from this authentic place of connection, and allow for their worries and allow for their lower vibrating thoughts to pass with as little resistance as possible. In other words, if you, with your good intention, build a wall of resistance because you would like to protect, then these words bounce off, and then they come back again because then they bounce off the other person again. And what you are inevitably creating is this circle of more and more worry and negativity. But if you allow for these worrisome thoughts that are being expressed to pass, to just pass through, and don't give them any attention, any resistance, any of that, then there will be a natural movement, a natural spiraling upwards, because these thoughts have no ground to grow on, you see. They only get ground to grow on when there's discussion, when there's push against, when there's resistance. When there is no resistance, these words will pass. And even the worried people, the worried grandparents, they, with their inner being, with their higher self, always are pulled towards a higher state of beingness, which means that it doesn't take too much. It takes less rather than more to create a better atmosphere, a more loving, a more harmonious atmosphere. And you be you. You be you the way you feel it, the way you perceive it, the way you get your guidance. And don't resist what is coming from them. And you will see that there will be a harmonization going on. Things will harmonize, thoughts will harmonize, minds will harmonize, hearts will harmonize, and the atmosphere will harmonize as well as a result.
Marianne is asking, what about 5G, the killing weapon that is being installed?
The future potentially holds 16G. The future potentially holds 100G. The future holds the potential for so much more than what you can even imagine now. But the future always holds the potential for harmony. The future holds great potential for peace. The future holds great potential for creative expansion. The future holds great potential for joy. The future holds great potential for togetherness. In other words, and we know that you cannot take our word for it. So that's why we're always saying experience it for yourself, and you won't have to believe us. You will just have to believe yourself. When you shift your attention from what is wrong and from what is preposterous and from what is disastrous and from what is dangerous and from what is horrible, when you shift your thoughts and when you allow for your attention to go into the solution mode, to go into the receptive mode, to be connected to nature, to be connected to God, then we understand that you feel like you're not doing anything. You are, at best, not part of the problem, but definitely not part of the solution if you don't fight against it, if you don't do anything about it. But understand this. When you are in a state of harmony, in a state of love, in a state of appreciation, in a state of bliss, then you are the light that shines bliss. And then people around you see bliss. And then people around you eventually tune into this energy of bliss also. And understand this, that in a world where appreciation, love, joy, friendship, bliss becomes the dominant vibration, and for a lot of people it is the dominant vibration, this world is not compatible with harmful energies. This world then is not compatible with destructive energies. This world then is not compatible with what you perceive to be the dangers of your physical reality. So that's why we're always saying, when you raise your vibration, the vibration of everything around you rises as well. And then 5G, or all the other things that are on your radar right now, they won't just not matter anymore. You will not even remember that there was this external danger, because you will be tuned into bliss, and you will have participated in creating a new reality of bliss. We hope that this made sense for you.
Matt is saying, when you said you don't give it ground to grow on, that unlocked that scripture for me in a different way.
Good. Because know this, that throughout history, there have been very, 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 very connected human beings that have received very, very, very wonderful guidance, that were deeply connected to source energy. And so they're leaving behind clues and words and books, and now through other mediums, they're leaving behind clues for all of humanity to pick up. And when you start working with those clues, and you connect deeper, and you feel your higher self stronger, you will find that there is a truth within the truth, 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 boom, and now all of a sudden you're at source. And when you are at source, everything is clarity. When you are at source, there's no code to crack, there's no safe to unlock. When you are at source, there is a native understanding for all that is. And you might not have the words, which are not needed. You might not have the words to describe it, but you have a deep feeling of knowing, of understanding the nature of everything. This is what happens when you blissfully connect in a meditative state with source energy. There are no question marks in this deep state of connection. When you're in this deep state of connection, you have no questions anymore. But you also don't have answers anymore, because there's no separation anymore, because you have then arrived at this eternal state of connection where everything is perfect clarity. And that's where you are in complete peace, harmony, and balance with all that is. So, yes, pick up the clues and move deeper and remove the layers. And you will see that when you arrive at source, a new life begins.
He's saying, I have a huge vision and I'm afraid I won't have the time and resources to get it done.
This is a very, very good statement to bring this to our conclusion for this time in your time and space reality. This comes from an understanding that there is a limit, that there are limitations in time, that there are limitations in resources, that there are limitations in what you can be, do, or have. And if there's anything that we have been saying throughout the eons, is that there is nothing that you cannot do, be, or have and create. And so, when you have what you call a purpose, a vision, a mission, an idea, and it was born from your connection with God, the universe, source, your higher self. If it was born from that connection, then the means, the time, and everything else that is required have to show up for you. It is a law. It is the law that governs the universe. And so, nothing that you make up in your mind in terms of limitations could change that law, but they could change if you allow or not. You see, the only thing that is holding you back is how you feel and think about this, is when you're holding yourself back from allowing for all the resources and everything else that is required for your vision to unfold to come to you. And this goes for all of you, this goes for all of humanity. When we say that everything is truly possible, what we mean by that is that everything is truly possible because you are divine creators, full stop, period. You are divine creators. And if you have just the slightest bit of understanding for what divinity means, then it means that it entails everything. And you have heard this before. with God, everything is possible. And replace God with source or with the universe or even with your higher self. The words are not as important as the energy that we're talking about. If with God all things are possible, what does that not entail? What is missing? Nothing is missing. This is the perfect equation. This is the solution to every mathematical problem in the universe is with God all things are possible. And so you can calculate and calculate through in your way into eternity. When you find this eternal equation in your soul, in your heart, you have solved the mystery of life. With God, all things are possible. With Source, all things are possible. In Source, all things are possible because you are divine creators.
Can I ask a last question?
Yes, we are.
The last question for today.
We are absolutely, positively possible. Seeing a possibility to squeeze that in for you.
Phoebe is asking Yusi, how are you different from Abraham Hicks?
So, are you looking for the difference or are you looking for the sameness? Are you looking for the differentiation or are you looking for the harmony of this? The names have always changed and the wording has always been evolving and the intonations have always been evolving and they will continue to evolve. There is no difference in source energy. It is only your perception that makes a difference. In other words, is when you connect and you allow yourself to connect with source energy, then you receive your guidance. And this is nothing but guidance. This is nothing but words that source, all that is sending through you, to you, for you. It's always been that way. And so the only thing that matters and that should matter to you is, does it feel authentic to you? Does it feel good to you? Do you feel do you feel it in your body? Do you feel that there's something going on there because you're perceiving something from the greater part of you that is not here with you in the physical plane, that is all that is? When you feel this, then you feel authenticity. And when you feel authenticity, then you get the answer to your questions. So the names don't matter. They will change. And the names are only there for you to have something that is tangible, that gives an expression to the familiarity of things in your physical reality. You have a hard time by dealing with something that has no name. We don't have a name. There is no need for a name for us. But we have given a name so you can have a familiar feeling of giving a tangible description to something. But the name, it never matters. In silence, there are no names. In silence, there's only feeling. In silence, there's only creation. We hope that this has answered your question.
Thank you.
We are always excited to be with you.
Me too.
We enjoy the creative power. We enjoy the anticipation, the excitement that is in the air. We enjoy the many, 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 many thoughts that are going out with such deep feeling into the universe, that are going out with such strength and clarity. We enjoy this new quality of a new time for you humans, for this whole planet, and we enjoy the effects that it has on the whole universe. And we enjoy that you are beginning to feel that yourselves. And so,
It is.
and so,
It is.
and so.
It is. Thank you.
It's good to be back. Do you have anything to say?
Well, maybe we do another session tomorrow. I don't know. There are lots of questions, and well, maybe we do that tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe we'll invite Yusi back tomorrow. We've been saying that we can.
Joey's asking Sean, did that feel more intense than usual?
No. It's always pretty intense. It's also it used to make me really tired years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So like 20-30 minutes was tops, and then I harmonized more and more of that energy. And it used to be where there were times when I couldn't connect. This almost never happens anymore. It really has to be a very, very emotional, out of balance situation where I need a little time. It's just so I think I learned to harmonize more with that energy. So no, it wasn't more intense than usual, but it is always beautiful and intense. We know that we can't get to all the questions, and so the ones that are jumping out to Christine is the ones that she's asking, and so this is a guided thing. But again, if you want to ask more questions, if you feel like you want to have this in your own space, in your own time, then please feel free to send us an email. We have the email right in the description. We can do a one-on-one session, and Christine is putting in the email one more time. And so yeah.
Sometimes there are questions that are kind of private, so...
Yeah, and it's, not everything is as comfortable in a public forum.
Is this the right one?
360, yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this was it from us for today. We're always leaving you links in the description of this video for, really cool books that we have read that we love. We also left some links for Christine's wonderful new designs. What's the newest that you made?
I think Shine Your Light, and what else did I do?
I love the Shine Your Light. I love this message.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
We just ordered new shirts for ourselves. We hope they're going to be here soon. We're going to show them to you guys. She did the Inspired Tribe. That's what's arriving soon. I'm so looking forward to wearing that. And yeah, so you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your days. Shine your light. Shine your light. It's such a wonderful time to be alive. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, right?
Yes.
We have also made the decision to go with a 5+2 rhythm, which means we're going to do daily live streams from Monday through Friday, and we're going to take off the weekend.
Yeah, spend time with the kids and be outside. Well, be outside, be in nature.
Yeah, and then, pick up on what's going on and bring new freshness.
On Monday.
So we're going to see you tomorrow. And then see you Monday. Let me see.
I want to get married to my best friend. Yes, I married my best friend.
Yes, we definitely did. I always say I peaked when I married my wife, because that was the smartest thing I've ever done. Everything else is encore in my life. I already did the smartest thing I could have ever done. All right, we love you guys, and we're wishing you
a very great, blissful, amazing rest of your day.
See you tomorrow.
See you.